right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Brandon Tortlett with ProWest and Associates. I'm based in our Minneapolis office. Thank you all for joining us on our webinar on Modern Land Records Management. And looks like most of you have dialed in, so I'm hoping you can all hear us okay. And we may have a few more that are going to join here yet, but I think we've got a crowd, so I think we'll just go ahead and dive in. I've got 203. So yeah, as I said, this is a webinar on modern land records management. As you likely know, we're an Esri business partner, and this session is a follow-up in line with the Land Records Meetup at the Esri User Conference, which we hosted, as you may recall. Boy, this past summer seems like a long time ago, but we were all there. And on the call are my colleagues Candace Scherenbach, Jenny Miller, and Kyle Wickstrom. And the purpose of today's webinar is to re-engage with the types of solutions and topics that were presented at the Land Records Meetup. We'd like to show you some examples and delve into a few solutions in more detail. And we're currently planning on focusing on Parcel Fabric, including Parcel Fabric in ArcGIS Pro, and a couple of Esri solutions, namely the Parcel Drafter and the Value Analysis Dashboard. And then we'll look at an example client web application that showcases integration with disparate databases and information repositories and so forth. Some of you have provided feedback to us prior to the webinar, which is why we're focusing on the solutions that we are, so thank you for that. However, I wanted to state right here at the outset that we'd like to make this webinar as interactive as possible. So if you're willing to share, please, by all means, we'd love to hear from you now kind of during the session. If there's something that's of interest or maybe that pops into your mind or something that you've been working on, but where you haven't had a chance to send us the feedback before today, we'd love to hear from you. In the webinar, you are on mute, I believe, but you can certainly send us chat messages and ask us questions that way. So we'll certainly keep our eyes peeled for that. In case you're wondering, yes, today's session will be recorded and distributed to all attendees, including all the folks that came to the Land Records Meetup, in case you had colleagues who couldn't join us today. More than anything else, what we're also hoping is that you'll be in touch after the webinar to have more of a offline one-on-one discussions so we can make sure that we understand any requirements that you may have. So without any further ado, I'll just take a moment to tell you a little about ProWest in case many of you, you may have heard of us but may not be familiar with us per se. So I'm just going to run through a couple of tabs on our story map here and then kind of dive into the meat of the presentation. So ProWest is a GIS firm headquartered in Walker, Minnesota, as well as a variety of remote staff. We're a women-owned business, and we have a reputation around the country. And a big thing for us, which I'll touch on again in a moment, is that we feel pretty good about the fact that our customers tend to keep working with us once they start, kind of like the bullet point speaks to. So they tend to have good experiences and they keep coming back, and they can certainly provide testimonials about what their experiences have been working with ProWest. So we feel pretty good about that. And those same customers, or some of those same customers, have been very successful, as indicated by these SAG awards that you see here. And as an Esri business partner, we've been in that role and that capacity for, almost as long as there has been such a thing as Esri business partner, the Esri business partner program, or as long as that has been a thing. So, and we do all of our work right here in the U.S. And the reason we hosted that Land Records Meetup at the UC is that this is our specialty. As you see here, our work with local government, counties and so forth are the majority of our business. And specifically, land records accounts for approximately 50% of our overall business. So we do a lot of parcel maintenance, as you see here, and we do work with a lot of smaller clients on the one hand, but we also have done some big projects, such as this slide speaks to here. We did a project for Cook County, Illinois, which is the city of Chicago. So we've worked with clients of a huge range of sizes and levels of complexity and so on and so forth. And then in addition to local government, we also have worked extensively with federal, state, and tribal entities and some of the private sector as well. This wheel diagram helps to illustrate and tell people about how we work with customers, and I won't go through all of the detail except to say that we always emphasize being part of your team And we do have a lot of domain expertise on, for instance, Esri solutions, their existing out-of-the-box solutions, but also system architecture, custom integrations, and of course, those are all very different things. And we do focus on cost savings as well, both via automation, scripts, and whatnot, but also wanted to emphasize that one of the things we can provide is staff solutions to work on your issues where we do the work with a combination of on-site and remote work, and customers really enjoy this service because it provides a lot of resources to solve some of the problems that they may be having without having to have more permanent staff on their own. So enough about us. That's a quick little run through about ProWest for those that have not heard of us before. And with that, I'm going to pass things over to Candace for the first major topic that we're going to address here today, which is Parcel Fabric.
Hi, this is Candace Sharonbrock. Good morning or good afternoon, based on wherever you are at today. Happy to be connecting with all of you virtually today. Thanks, Brandon, for the great introduction. And one of the first things that we're going to go over today is Parcel Fabric. We received some feedback from some of you regarding this as a topic of interest. And like Brandon said, working with cities and counties and local government is certainly a specialty of ours. And Parcel Fabric comes up a lot. And so what I want to do is just touch a little bit on what is Parcel Fabric, why you might use it, that type of thing. And this is something that we have a team of staff that are working on parcel projects really every day. And Parcel Fabric migrations is certainly a part of that. And before I get going too far on this, just so that you know, I am going to be walking through the different bullet points over on the left-hand side here. So I'm not going to be flipping through different tabs. I'm just going to talk through each of those points over there on the left. So just in case you're wondering if you should be seeing something different, you should be seeing the big hand with the green check mark slide. So in a nutshell, from a really high level, what is Parcel Fabric, right? It's an editing environment. So your parcels are in a special container, and inside of that container is where your parcels live and where your parcels can be edited. And that gives you the ability to secure your data and really control how that parcel data is edited. And obviously, as most of you are cities and counties, your parcel data and how it's managed, that parcel data is one of the most important pieces of data that you own and that you manage. And so utilizing the Esri Parcel Fabric tools and editing environment allows you to do that. So Parcel Fabric, in a nutshell, what is it at its core? It's an editing environment. Now, inside of that editing environment are all different kinds of tools and processes to help with managing your parcels. Now, we all know that if you are the person editing the parcels, or if you're managing a team, right, that's editing parcels, there's lots and lots and lots of aspects to how you edit parcels, not only inside the fabric, but maybe what you're doing right now outside the fabric. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail on the specifics of the editing, but keep it more high level here as far as how Parcel Fabric can help you manage. One reason why a lot of governments will move to the Parcel Fabric is because of the efficient editing environment that it provides. So editing tasks for managing your parcels are more efficient because the concept of a parcel is really all-encompassing, which means that one entry of a legal description, the lines are drawn, a parcel polygon is created, and within a single click, your annotation is automatically placed based on the values that you entered for the PIN and so on and so forth. There's one toolbar dedicated for editing your parcels in the fabric, along with a standard way of entering that information. Splits, for example, are conducted from the existing parcel. So you don't need to redraw an entire parcel. So this can be an editing efficiency. New subdivisions are drawn from scratch or can be imported from another geodatabase or an AutoCAD drawing if you're still using that. And feature-linked annotation is supported, which means that if PIN numbers change or other annotation change, it's automatically updated in your annotation layer, so you're not having to edit a separate annotation layer. So those are just a few examples, right, of how that editing environment really helps streamline the overall editing of your parcel data. The other thing with efficient editing is what are called enabled workflows, right? And basically what this means is that common workflows that you go through to manage your parcels, such as splits or merges, new subdivisions, line adjustments, right? All of these come with standardized sets of workflows. So it makes it a little bit easier for people to learn how to edit parcels if they're new to editing parcels. It also helps maintain the consistency between multiple editors. So if you have a team of people that are editing parcels, these standardized workflows that Esri has set up for Parcel Fabric allow your team members to standardize how they're doing the editing, or even if you have one person editing your parcels and they leave, when you have that staff turnover, those standardized workflows will help keep how that data is being managed consistent. And this can be a big reason why cities and counties will move to the Fabric, because it really helps standardize. Again, that one of the most important data layers that you have really helps standardize how that data is being edited when there's staff turnover or when you have a large team. In addition, with the Parcel Fabric, it also helps you maintain that original record. So you're always going to keep the original record measurements, your COGO, right, regardless of the actual spatial geometry that's modified or the spatial accuracy that's improved. So lots of different reasons right there just regarding editing. I'm going to do history preservation last, but control maintenance is another example of why folks are looking at the Fabric, right, is to utilize least square adjustments, which is included in the Fabric. These least square adjustment tools will help the user when a new control corner has been recorded and needs to be entered. It allows the corner to be entered, the adjustment to the tolerance to be set, the accuracies to be determined, and then finally those parcel adjustments to be completed. So having that corner control maintenance is really important. Now, your parcels, because they're in this editing environment, there is a publishing process that occurs to transfer your parcels from the editing environment into a separate feature class that can then be automatically consumed by other applications. So if you're using ArcGIS Online, or you're using Portal, or you're using another third-party vendor's web-based GIS solution, you can then incorporate those parcels directly into those web-based solutions, right? And it's keeping that web view environment separate from the editing environment, so that editors can focus on their standardized workflows and their process. So finally, when it comes to the Fabric, a big reason why folks will migrate is because it allows them to automatically track the geographical history of the parcel. Now, ProS has been doing parcels for a long time, and this always comes up. And we can look oftentimes in our tax systems and such to see how a parcel may have been changed over time, but you can't necessarily see it on a map. And when you're editing your parcels in the Parcel Fabric, it gives you the ability to track that spatial history of the parcels. So ProWest has a solution, it's called Parcel Lineage, and this will all be included in an email that is sent out to you. But it's an ArcGIS Online and/or portal-based interface that allows you to basically expose that spatial geographic history, change history of that parcel. So when I click on a parcel, I can see down here how that parcel has been split and combined over time. And I can click on those parcels and I can start to deep dive into how those parcels have changed spatially over time, which is much more intuitive, right, for the end user to be able to visually see that on a map versus looking at a database. And so we've had several clients that have made that leap into the fabric just so that they have an easier way to pull up that spatial lineage. Now, some clients have even went back and back populated some of that history just so that they can kind of get a head start. But it's really a powerful function of the Parcel Fabric and a powerful tool that can be used throughout your organization to see how parcels have changed over time. One of our clients, the city of Moorhead, Minnesota, if you go out onto their public map gallery page, they actually have their Parcel Lineage solution actually available to the public. So you can go on there, find their map gallery site, and we can include that in a link as well, and you can test it out. And we also have a demo site as well that we can send you. So that's a little bit of history, a little bit of information regarding the Parcel Fabric, why people are moving towards it, editing efficiencies, how you can pull out the history. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts to it, and it's again a team on site here that's working with their clients every day on identifying what Parcel Fabric means for the organization and how it can be migrated. Typically, when we work with a client on migrating to the Fabric, one of the first things that we do is we work with the clients to do an analysis of their existing data, and we identify any data cleanup that would need to happen before the data is migrated into the Fabric, and we provide feedback on that. And sometimes the clients take on some of the cleanup tasks, and sometimes ProWest does. That's something that we work through. And then also when we go through a Parcel Fabric migration process, we put together what's called a source to target document. And this allows ProWest to outline all of your existing parcel data and where it is mapped to for the different layers and the different attributes once your data is migrated to the Fabric. And this provides you with a consistent piece of metadata so that you know where your data was and where it's going to end up. So those are all processes that we work through with our clients in order to prep for and document how that migration might take place. Lots of our clients will reach out to us to do that one-time migration because it is a one-time migration. So there's not necessarily new skills that would be generated for existing staff, so on and so forth. So we'll collaborate with our cities and counties to go through the prep work, complete the migration, and then provide on-site training and support for how that parcel data can be managed, help set up those standardized workflows, help expose some of that history that I showed you earlier, so on and so forth. So that does it for the parcel piece of it. Obviously, we'll send you some links to some of this information so that you have it as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle Wickstrom, who's part of our solutions team, and he is going to go over some different solutions that are common to many of the land records clients that we have. So thank you so much for your time today.
All right, thank you, Candace. So what I'm going to be talking about is the Parcel Drafter solution, which Esri has made available to all of its subscribing users. Parcel Drafter, it's a configuration in ArcGIS Online that can be used by mapping technicians and other staff to enter in meets and bounds descriptions to check for closure errors. Parcel Drafter, it's typically used by offices that include assessors, deed registrars, recorders, to record some of those documents. But it can also be used by surveyors and various types of title companies to verify different survey information before they are ultimately submitting it to the authoritative agency. So here, what's coming through on my screen is the Parcel Drafter application. And we're just going to briefly walk through a demonstration of how users can actually take advantage of this particular solution. So within a workflow, typically what users are interacting with is a parcel map, and that's exactly what we have here. And you can see as we explore our application, we can open up these parcels to access that pop-up information and whatever information has been shared with it. In a typical workflow, what we're going to do though is we're going to search for a particular parcel, and I do have one in mind. So let's go find this parcel here. And with just some simple typing and clicking, we can quickly find where we need to be on this in this mapping application. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to activate our Parcel Drafter tool, which we already do have activated by default here. So I'm going to start a new traverse in order to begin my new parcel sketch. And there are two different ways that we can indicate our point of origin on this application. We can either snap to an existing feature on the map, whether that is a parcel corner, a section corner, or a control point, or a road center line, whatever that may be. You may see that my cursor is snapping to this parcel feature on the map. Or if our document indicates the actual latitude and longitude of this particular point of origin, we can enter that in too. However, in this case, I'm simply going to click on this the corner of these four parcels, so that way we can begin sketching out a sample parcel split on this particular property. One of the first things I'm going to do in this application is I'm going to go into my application settings and make sure that the different settings, such as my direction type, my units, that they're all set to whatever the types and units are set at on that particular document. For this demo, I'm going to change my direction and angle type to quadrant bearing. And I'm going to make sure that my direction and angle units are set to degrees, minutes, seconds. And then I'm going to back out to my new traverse window here. And there are two types of lines in this demo we have here that we can draw. We can draw a connection line or a boundary line. A connection line, if you want to think of that as your construction line, that is a line drawn that perhaps will bring you to the start of a parcel boundary. So for example, you may receive a description that describes the beginning of a parcel is 100 feet north of a certain set of coordinates. So that's when we would use that connection line. For this demo, I'm just going to begin sketching my new boundary lines. So then I'm going to begin entering in my bearing and distance information. So we're going to go south 89 degrees, 48 minutes, 24 seconds east for a length of 139.89 feet. And I'm just going to hit tab or enter. And you'll notice on the map that it's actually sketched out that line for me. And in this new traverse panel, it's already loaded me into the entries section for my next line. And I'm going to enter in the second segment of my property here. So we're going to go south 1 degree, 56 minutes, 31 seconds west for 100.02 feet. And you can see that that line then transects that particular property. It is perpendicular. Let's go ahead and finish up our sketch here. So next we're going to go north, 89 degrees, 48 seconds, or 48 minutes, 22 seconds west, for a distance of 139.89 feet. And it's continuing to sketch out that particular description. Something I do want to point out is this digitize button. This can be a rather helpful tool when a user is attempting to find the bearings and lengths for an existing piece of property. If I were to click that digitize tool and then begin hovering over the features on my map, you'll see that that cursor is snapping to those features. And if I were to click on that location, you would see a new line segment in my sketch drawn onto the map, and that bearing and length information gets populated into my new traverse panel. So that is a helpful tool if you perhaps don't have a description in front of you, but you are wanting to know what is the bearing and length information. And all of this information can be edited right here within this panel as well. So perhaps if you mistype a bearing, or fat finger the length information, sometimes it can be easy when we're working hard to enter in an incorrect key. I'm going to go to this last entry here that I drew on the map, and since I misentered that length information, I'm going to update that right here within my new traverse panel. 99 feet, 99.67 feet. I'm going to hit enter, and you can see on my map it actually updated that segment of that property line. Something else I want to point out with is the Parcel Drafter tool does have some capabilities to draw out some of those more unusual types of lines, such as a curve or a radius. So for example, I'm going to take this line segment right here. Oops, delete that. And for the radius column, I'm just going to type in a radius of, let's use 100 as an example. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. You can see that it's entering in that radius information. And this is going to accomplish approximately 95% of different meets and bounds cases that we've come across. There are a small handful of scenarios where this tool won't accomplish some of those extremely complex bearing and distance sketches. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that radius information. You'll also notice that in this gray panel of my Parcel Drafter tool, it is providing me some calculated information such as the misclosed bearing and the misclosed distance. It is letting me know what direction and for how far the sketch has to go in order to completely close that particular parcel sketch. We have a misclose ratio of approximately 1.1, and it is actually calculating out this area for us in this case, it's in square feet. So this sketch that we have placed on the map is approximately 13,960 square feet. Oftentimes these legal documents that come in may state the area of that particular feature, and we don't want anyone to have to sacrifice that information. And thankfully, there is a spot in this application where we can enter in the stated area as compared to the area calculated by the GIS system. So this particular property is 13,965 square feet. So we're not going to lose that information when we save this sketch. A couple additional things that we can use the Parcel Drafter tool for are to modify our sketch around the point of origin, or to scale it up or down. Every now and then a description will come in that requires a particular sketch be rotated around that point of origin or scaled up. And in this case, for my angle, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate how we can rotate our feature 60 degrees around that point of origin and scale it up by, let's say, 1.5 times. So we can actually interact with that sketch as a whole when it comes to its rotation and its scale. I'm going to reset this back to my original settings here. And we can also go ahead and enter in that parcel information, so that way we're not losing track of that tabular data. So here I'm just entering in that former parcel ID number. If you have a set of document types that you're used to receiving, such as a split document or a subdivision, you can have that drop-down box here as well to enter in what type of document was this sketch described on. And you can also enter in a plan name if you're receiving something like a subdivision document. So I'm going to go ahead, actually. Oops. And I was expecting a drop-down box here, so you'll have to please forgive my application. It does not like my type. But so the way that this would work is we would then have a new parcel that is sketch that is created within this application. Now keep in mind, this application and the parcels that are sketched, that data is living in a separate feature class than your actual parcel information. So you are not actually altering your in-production parcel data. So a tool like this really puts a lot more power into the hands of those who know how to sketch out a particular parcel or to read a legal description. But it doesn't put that pressure on those staff members of actually updating the live production parcel data themselves. In a larger workflow, that task would fall to that GIS technician. So I'm just going to click, I'm not going to save my feature here. And then once those sketches are saved on this application, anyone who's accessing this particular Parcel Drafter tool would be able to see the legal descriptions as they were sketched out. So that information can be shared across departments and across an organization. So that way each user is not having to sketch that out themselves. So, and that actually concludes the Parcel Drafter demonstration of this webinar. And I believe right now I'm going to be passing it right back to Brandon, if I'm correct.
Or actually, Kyle, I think you can also do the value analysis dashboard.
Oh, sure, I can jump into that right now, yes. So the value analysis dashboard is a configuration of operations dashboard within ArcGIS Online. And this solution can be used by departments such as assessors, different evaluators, to actually visualize the impact of various sales, foreclosure information, assessment appeals, tax delinquency or tax reverted property in a particular neighborhood or a tax district. It's a map-based view of some of those key operational layers, and that can actually be really helpful when looking at what issues may be occurring in a community or where appeals are occurring, and that can actually help us to refine various valuation models. So this application, like I said, is a map-based view of this data. We can go in and we can identify the particular assessment neighborhoods. I'm going to select, I'm just going to select a few of them here. So here I've identified 4 particular assessment neighborhoods. And you can actually see that my infographics along the right side of my screen are updating with that information about sales, appeals, and foreclosures within those assessment neighborhoods that we've selected. We can also update our sales information by date. So if we're looking for sales in a particular time range, or perhaps within the last 6 months, we can update this map view and our information in those panels as well. You can see that my infographic along the bottom of this dashboard is actually displaying to me the total assessed value of all of the property within those assessment neighborhoods, as well as the total taxable value in that those neighborhoods, and the current amount owed coming from those neighborhoods as well. And if we wanted to dive into any of this additional information, such as the sales, appeals, or foreclosures, we can actually drill forward into that information to view where a particular event has occurred. So here we can get information on that particular sale, and we can see we've configured this pop-up to provide just a little more useful information to a user who's perhaps moving through a lot of information. They're making a lot of decisions. So we can see that there was a sales ratio target, and that the likelihood of this sale impacting a property tax is not very likely. If we were to drill through the appeals information, it's going to function very similarly. So we can have those appeals listed out for us in that panel, and then interact with the map to view that particular pop-up. And the information that's displayed within these pop-ups or within any of these infographics, that is completely configurable based on your business requirements and what information it is that you are tracking. So I'm going to deselect my assessment neighborhoods so that we can view some of this foreclosure information as well. So again, just some very basic information that's being tracked with that particular set of data. And a lot of this information can aid those different agency staff in making their decisions about what do those valuation models look like in a particular neighborhood, or where is there a high frequency of appeals or various foreclosures happening. And this can serve to provide insight into the health of a particular community or an assessment neighborhood. So this is a very useful tool for those decision makers and those who are maybe setting various types of ratios or setting up the requirements or the goals within those communities. So that's just a very high level view and a brief look at how this application can work for those departments who are wanting to get some of that value analysis out of their information. So, and now, Brandon, I will turn it back to you. That is the end of my show and tell today.
Very good. Thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Candace, before that. I'm going to show my screen. All right. So I will dive into our last major topic of the presentation. But yeah, it looks like we don't have any questions so far, but really and truly, if you've had anything that's popped into your mind, just an idea, a thought, could you clarify that again sort of thing, or what were we looking at there? Anything of that nature, please, by all means, don't be a stranger. You can submit questions via the GoToWebinar panel that should be on your screen somewhere. And if not, we can always be in touch afterwards, but please, by all means, send us those questions. So the last thing we were going to look at is actually somewhat of a segue to, or very related to what Kyle was just showing you, but different in some other ways too. So what I'm going to show you is an application whereby we can actually have the parcel be sort of the focal point, the door into sort of the single unified place of access for a variety of different types of information, from information that your city or your county may have sitting in other databases, such as your CAMA data and whatnot, and permits and so on and so forth, where there's intrinsically there's value either at least to your fellow county or city employees, but also certainly to put that information out there to the public, right, to equip them and to make it easier for them to get information, really in this case, anything that pertains to such and such parcel, a given parcel on the map. So again, we're using the parcel specifically and GIS more broadly as the way to interact with a variety of different property and land records information for a given location. So what you're looking at here is an application that we worked with Jefferson County, Washington on. We developed this so that when a user comes to a given parcel, so I will just go ahead and pick one at random. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward web application. So when a member of the public, in this case I'm looking at it from the public side, clicks on a given parcel, they see a great deal of information that pops up. So again, this is ArcGIS Online based, but what's unique about this is beyond just the information about the given parcel, such as the parcel ID and the parcel owner and whatnot, there's also a number of different links right here. I hope hope that's coming okay. Coming through okay on your screen in terms of the text size. What I've got here is the parcel ID number, and then all of these here are specific links whereby if someone clicks on any of these, for example, this first one, the assessor and treasurer's details, now they're actually taken to a separate piece of data about that same parcel. So the parcel is how we searched for and located this, and now we're getting information from the assessor and the treasurer of this county, again, Jefferson County, Washington, about that. So I can get that information. If I go back, I can also get a printable view from the assessor's office. So it's a CAMA tax report about that given parcel. Also, I can get information on plats and survey, or perhaps I click on the permits link, and I have a link to the permits database. So here's the cases associated with, and I were to click on that, and now we get information about permits. This one happens to have no permit data available, which is what always happens when you do a live demo. You always pick one that doesn't have anything available, but you kind of get the idea. So these are all stored in separate places, and the parcel and the GIS, like I said a moment ago, ends up becoming the single unified place where now folks from the public can find all this information all from a single point. There's also a link to sales affidavits. You kind of get the idea. Again, this is another data set. So this gives you a list of the available documents, and you can click on a given document in the list here. And we have the link to the specific tax affidavit. So if that is of interest to you, this should give you a sense of what this sort of thing might look like. Obviously, in today's webinar, we're just kind of keeping it at a high level on each of these solutions. As you can imagine, there's a lot of stuff that goes on the back end to make something like this happen. But the point of this is just to sort of cut right to the chase and show you what the end product looks like when you link all these things together to GIS and to the parcel specifically. And this is another one that we will certainly include this particular URL in the follow-up email, so you can play around with this and dig into this perhaps in some more detail if you wanted to see the kind of information that you're able to get here. All right, so now that I've gone through that was the last piece of information we wanted to show. So it looks like I don't see any questions as of yet. We've got a little bit of time, and so if there aren't any questions, not that we need to spend a lot more time, but since we do have a few minutes, perhaps it would make sense to also show you this. So this is our ProGov site, and we will also include this in the email that we'll send out. But what this is an ArcGIS Online site that we have branded as ProWest, specifically to give folks like yourself, or anyone that's interested, your own ability to, without the need to do a bunch of searching, to go to different clusterings of sample applications and sample solutions for different records. So in this case, I came to the site, I clicked on Land Records, since that's what we're here to talk about is Land Records. And this brings us to a number of different applications. And so what you can do is you can look at examples of all the same things that we were, or some of the things, I'm sorry, that we were talking about today, plus a lot of others. as you can imagine, in today's webinar, we're just picking out a kind of a random sampling of solutions, but there's certainly a lot more out there. We are mainly focusing on the ones that we got some feedback on that folks were interested in. But here is a link for the value analysis dashboard. But for instance, if that sort of thing was of interest, but maybe something slightly different, there is a dashboard also for tax reverted property, or just a basic school locator, let's say. So what happens in this is when you click on one of these, you can either keep it as a within screen application or a full screen application. And this will kind of walk you through, much like Kyle's demo did on the Parcel Drafter, but this will do the same thing for school locator or whichever application that you are interested in. So feel free to play around with this. This is there for you. We set it up for you, for folks that want to explore different applications and see what might be most relevant to the unique challenges that you might be facing. It could be that some of you are not interested in this, but are perhaps interested in some of these other things, like address requests or things of that nature. So we will be sending this to you. Please play around with it, and if you have any other questions about any of these, please, by all means, don't be a stranger. Be in touch, and we'd love to talk to you offline, one-on-one, on any of these or anything else that you might be struggling with. So let's see, I don't see any other questions. So hopefully we haven't put you to sleep. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this. We do appreciate your time, taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. So in conclusion, back to my story map here. So this is some contact information. You can certainly get in contact with us this way. So we've got email addresses here. This is myself and Candace, and also a phone number that you can contact us. But again, we do appreciate your time. Hopefully you've gotten some takeaways, some good information, and the recording for the webinar will be sent out to you in the not too distant future, so be on the lookout for that. And I thought I should just check one more time to see if we have any questions. All right, since I don't see any, again, I will just say thank you all for your time, and we'll be in touch soon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.